I guess so. Well, they can tell you details, may not be true details. I haven't even had a chance. I went home and dropped and fell asleep. I barely made it to school this morning. But I saw your text. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at that. But I did have some drops that were MSM drops for my eyes that someone prescribed. So I tried those while I'm waiting, and my eyes still feel lubricated. So, but sometimes they're too strong. Oh yeah?
You're still at 4, I think. Oh no, you're at 2. We'll switch you out.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How wonderful it is for all of us to be together. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov, hinei ma tov, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hinei ma tov, hinei ma tov, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Turn to your neighbor, say Shabbat Shalom. On the other side, Shabbat behind you, in front of you. We are going to do this a cappella, no piano. I don't know if my granddaughter is watching, but she got the offer to go to the park today, and as we're waiting for more people to come in that are parking, and she said no, she wanted to see Grandma. And considering that they're moving to New Jersey in less than 2 weeks, my daughter called and she said, I said, I have a service. What about Grandma TV? Because she likes Grandma TV. And so she smiled and said, okay. So we're all going to do Bim Bom for Ella. You ready? Bim Bom, Bim 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 Bom, Bim 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 Bom. Bim bom, bim 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 bom, bim 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 bom. Are you ready? Shabbat shalom, hey! Shabbat shalom, hey! Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, hey! Shabbat shalom, hey! Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, hey! Shabbat, Shalom, hey! Shabbat, 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 Shalom, hey! So, hopefully you're out there and you saw it. Mwah! Grandma loves you. Shabbat, Shalom. So now, we are going to do Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash. And some of you might remember it. We've learned it in class. So let us go forward and sing a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, page 131. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, V'adachu Shemo, Basru B'yom Le'yom Yeshuato, Shiru Ladonai, V'adachu Shemo, Basru B'yom Le'yom Yeshuato, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Woo! Good job, everyone. So now we are going to do Lecha Dodi on page 138 as we welcome in the Sabbath bride. 138. Lecha lecha dodi, ligrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha lecha dodi, ligrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabla. La 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 lecha dodi, ligrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha lecha dodi, ligrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamichad, Adonai echad, Shemo echad, L'Shem l'tiferet v'livi la 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 l'chadodi, Ligrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha l'chadodi, Ligrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Verse 5. Hitoreri, Kiva orek miori, Ori, Shiadaveri, Kevod Adonai, like la 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 hadodi, Ligrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha hadodi, Ligrat kala, Penei penei Shabbat nekabla. Verse 9. V'oi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha zohla, Techeneneh am sedela, Likrat kala, panay Shabbat nekavla. Lacha doji, likrat kala, panay Shabbat nekavla. Panay Shabbat nekavla. Panay Shabbat nekavla. Woo! Please be seated. And now you can turn to Shalom Aleichem. So if I say to you, Shalom Aleichem, what do you say to me? Very good. And we've learned about this prayer in our prayer class. And now we are going to do it right now as we welcome in the Sabbath angels. And would you please turn to page 142. Let me see you. Come on, get into it. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Shalom, Malachei Bye. our wonderful musicians. There's a lot of ruach in this room, and I'm so proud of all of you for keeping up and following along, and you out there in the cyberspace live stream world as well. Page 144, the Hachodesh, as we separate our Kabbalat Shabbat portion from our official call to worship. Page 144. And remember, we're going to go slowly so that everyone can follow along. Yitgra v'yikra shmei Rama ve'alma divrach hirtei ve'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei lechol beit Yisrael v'agala v'agala v'zman karivim erev Yehei shmei Rama mevarach la'alam lo me'almaya Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitbar, Yitraman, V'naseh, V'yidhadar, V'yid'aleh, V'yidhalal, Shemei Dekudashah, Brechu, Le'ela min kol berchata, V'shirata, Tishvechata, V'nechemata, Da'am Mihiran Ve'alma, V'yimerel, Amen. And the official call to worship, the Baruch Hu, is on page 146. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevarach Le'olam V'amen. Please be seated as the ark is closed. And now we are going to go forward to our evening prayer, or Ma'ariv, Aravim. But first, let us read underneath the prayer the text on page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Sevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. And remember this as you're listening to the sermon. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being. God spoke, and the world was created. Creation happens with speech and intention and purpose and our words. But so too can destruction. So we want to speak our life and our world into that great light. Together, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach she'arim, u'v'tvuna meshaneh itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et hakochavim, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, ברayom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. ומעביר יום, maybe Laila, Mavdil ben Yom ve'Laila, Adonai Sebaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed, V'Haruch Atah Adonai, Amari V'Ravim. Page 150, Ahavat Olam. And as our beautiful musicians are playing, let us read the text underneath the prayer. Everlasting love, page 150. You offered your people Yisrael by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night, we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Yisrael. Ahavat olam ben Yisrael, amcha ahavta. Torah mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadata, otanu limadata. Okay. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה Elohim Amo Yisrael, Elohim Amo And now as we come to our Shema on page 152, if you would like to stand, please do. If you want to be seated, several of you, I sent the video of my granddaughter doing the Shema to her stuffed animals before she went to bed at night and covering their eyes. So you can cover your eyes if you want, you can close your eyes. However you can best connect to God. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Adonai Echad. Adonai Echad. And now we'll just do the prayer straight out. Take a deep breath in and deep breath out. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. And now we have the Ve'ahavta on page 154. Let us read together on the top of page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands and keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol lavavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'eleh asher Anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha velivarta bam veshivtecha vevetecha uvelechtecha vaderech uveshochtecha uvekulecha ukashartam leot al yadecha V'hayu latotafot beinenecha v'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yetem kedoshim le'elahechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lehiot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Amen. And now, if you will turn to page 157, we have our Micha Mocha prayer. And this is that moment when we celebrate, we're going to do the English first on the bottom, that moment when we went forward, Kadimah, into the sea with faith and not fear. So if you have a cell phone, please turn it off. We're only going to call God with our spirits and our hearts. But just remember, it's 2 weeks from tonight, that first Seder. Hard to believe. But we celebrate that moment of our ability to let go of that which enslaves us and move forward towards that which might liberate and redeem us. So together, the whole world needs that Passover moment. Bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and your love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to your God, our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Michamocha, and if you would like to dance around the perimeter of all of the pews, please feel free to do so, or you can get up and shake your ruach in your own seat. Judy, you might as well go. It might just be you and Stacy tonight. I don't know.
I'm ready.
Ready. Yeah, bye, bye, girl power. Yeah, bye, bye, yeah, da, 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 yeah, da, 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 yeah, da, 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 yeah, da, 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 yeah, da, 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 Li hama ha li Adonai, li hama ha li Adonai, no razi lo sapella, no razi lo sapella, mahala tehara havana, b'kei ayam say Moshe Miriam, ze'eli ze'eli anu ve'ameru Adonai lela God. Everybody How wonderful to have Stacy on percussion and Marianne. Stacy at the lead, Marianne pulling up at the rear. It's like Fiddler on the Roof with the violin, and everybody in the middle. Thank you for lending us your spirit and your incredible dance moves for the Mikal Mocha. There you go. All right, so now on page 160 we have Hashkivenu. And we ask that God will spread over us a shelter of peace. And if we look at the top of page 161, let us read together. And then we'll do the prayer. Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, l'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Ufras aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufras aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Ufros aleinu sukat Shalom Echa. Yelai lalai, yelai lalai, yelai lalai, lalai, yelai lalai, yelai lalai, yelai lalai, yelai lalai, lalai. V'ros aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot, Shalom Echa. And as we pray for peace to be spread out throughout the world, so desperately needed, peace in the countries that are struggling at this time, not just Ukraine, and peace in our own country and peace in our own beings. Let us read together on the bottom, right underneath the text. I think it's important to note that this is so important that we share this. We welcome Marianne back from Jerusalem. She had a good time. She saw Stacy. And if you are, I have had several people say to me that they do want to go to Israel. Africa has been put off for another year. Deborah, I don't know if we can plan Israel in the middle, but there are some people who want to go. So let me know if you're interested. So let us read together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'el kol amo Yisrael v'Yerushalayim. And that line that we have there, distance us from wrongdoing. Remember that as you're listening to the sermon. And so now we have the Shamru on page 162. Dorotam derimi tolam, Kesham and Reuben and Israel, et Hashavat, Lasod et Hashavat, Dorotam derimi tolam, B'nei B'nei Israel, B'nei Shalom, everybody. Please rise if you're able for the Amidah, page 164 and the pages following. We only have one more service because we have next Saturday before Passover, and then we will switch from winter to summer for that insert. So, Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Sfatai Tifta, Ananananana Ufi Yagid Tehilateha, Anananananana Adonai, Ananananana Sfatai Tifta, Ananananana Ufi Yagid Tehilateha, Adonai, Ananananana Svatai Tita, Ananananana Ufi Yagid Tehilateha, Adonai Sefatai Tifta Ufi Yagid Tehilateha, Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, Ve'Zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, U'Mevi Ge'ula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah, Rav LeHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Meitim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Holim, Umatir Asurim, Mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Va'ogevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, Bene'emana Talachayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMeitim, Atah Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, V'Kadoshim B'chol Yom, Yehalalucha Selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm so proud of all of you getting your praise on for God. That's what we're supposed to do. And with our joyous spirit and the soul-inspiring prayer that we do, we help elevate not only those of us here in this room in our own being, but the world as well. This Shabbat, sometimes the Parsha for this Shabbat and next Shabbat, when we have our Saturday service, is a combined Parsha. But because, the Jewish calendar moves around so much, we have to actually spread it out a little bit so that we don't end up with Hanukkah at Passover or Hanukkah at, earlier in the year at Rosh Hashanah. So to keep things straight, this year we have 2 months of Adar, and we separate out the ones that normally are sometimes combined. So this is also Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So those of you that have done Hebrew, Rosh the head, and Chodesh new, it's the head. Every month there's Rosh Chodesh, it's the head of a new month, but this is actually the beginning of the year. That's right. Many people think that our new year is when we get those lovely Jewish calendars and it starts then, but and those of you that are learned, that have been studying, know that actually it starts now, right in the month of Nisan, because we became a people in this month. So this is the beginning, actually, of the Hebrew calendar, and this is the first month of the Hebrew year. This week, in reading, we have Tazria. Next week is Metzorah. Whenever we have B'nai Mitzvah students, or even adult B'nai Mitzvah students, nobody wants to get these portions because they're all about leprosy and little boils and things that can happen to you. And I actually told my husband, I ended up reading it to my daughter, because I decided there's something called Sara'at that we get. I decided to merge, because what do I do up here? I take the Torah and I make it valid to our lives. So I have merged this concept of dis-ease and things that you can be afflicted with, for example, like these boils or blisters or leprosy, with what happened at the Academy Awards with Will Smith. Now, for some, they might think this is a stretch, but for me, it's very logical. So we have first some education so that you have a knowledge of what we're dealing with. These two portions deal with the physio-spiritual plague of Sara'at. Can you say it? Sara'at. It's a discoloration that appears in varying forms on the human skin, on hair, on clothing, and even the walls of somebody's home. The afflicted person must endure a very complicated process of purification in order to be able to rejoin the community. So they are placed outside the community. That's where you get that idea of a leper. And then they have to go through this purification process, and then the Kohen has to inspect them and give them permission to come back. The Kohen, the high priest, must verify and affirm their actual purity to be able to re-enter. The Talmud explains that Sara'at is a divine punishment for the sins, I know you all love this, of Lashon Hara, slander, and gossip. It comments that the reason the afflicted is sent out of the camp is because he separated, or she, friends and families through his words, or her words, and deserves to be separated from the community. Rashi and the Rambam explain that the very first form of Sara'at doesn't even begin on the person. Hashem, in his mercy, strikes inanimate objects, one's possessions. The discoloration first appears on the walls of a home, forcing the affected stones to be removed and destroyed. If that does not succeed as a wake-up call, the person continues their malicious gossip or their malevolent activities, then the clothing is affected. How many of you ever gotten mold on your clothing? How many of you ever gotten mold on their walls in their homes, or any kind of thing where you had to rip apart a house? These things happen. So people kind of worry when they hear this parsha. If you get a cold sore, I've had B'nai Mitzvah students come up to me and say, around the time of this parsha, do I have Sara'at? And I'm like, I'm so glad you know this. So anyway, if you look at all this, and if that fails, then eventually the flesh is transformed and white little lesions appear, forcing the affected person to leave the Jewish camp until the plague subsides and the Kohen declares them acceptable to return. Rashi tells us that the very first sage that stage of Sara'at, the home, is actually a blessing in disguise. Sara'at on a home can indeed bring fortune to the affected, which is kind of ironic. As the Israelites were approaching the land of Canaan, the inhabitants, figuring that one day they would come back to reconquer the land, hid all of their gold and their silver and their prized possessions inside the walls of their homes. When one dislodges the afflicted stones of the house, they would then find hidden treasures that were left by the fleeing Canaanites. Now, it is interesting that we, as a people, celebrate Am Yisrael, our peoplehood, the nation of Israel, right at the time of this parsha of Sara'at. Why? Especially now. We must look at who we are, what we say, how we conduct ourselves, the choices we make in dealing with each other, lest we become afflicted. First our buildings, then ourselves personally. Do we gossip? Do we ever speak ill of others? Are we greedy? We are meant to take care and be mindful. For the Israelites, working through the affliction and then replacing stones in the walls could actually reveal great hidden treasure. Because God afflicted inanimate objects first, moving on to us only after we did not listen. These days, the process we must go through to cleanse ourselves of negative thoughts and behavior reveals a different sort of treasure, a renewal of purity and promise and purpose. What will it take for us to listen so that we will not be afflicted? Remember, what goes around eventually comes around, if not even in just this lifetime, then beyond. Our world is hanging in the balance of a potential impending war. Chaos is everywhere. This was even evident in this year's Academy Awards. Will Smith, many of you have probably seen it, after slapping Chris Rock, was told by Denzel Washington, "At your highest point, that is when the devil comes after you." In a New York Times article, Wesley Morris writes, "This pandemic is still killing us. The virus at its center is one of the body, but it's also costing us our minds, a sacked Capitol building, an invaded and decimated sovereign nation, a raft of refugee crises, more American murders, overdoses, mental health issues, harassment for being Asian, for being black, for being trans, for being Jewish." On Sunday, a couple of hours before the 94th Academy Awards, I watched a man drive the wrong direction down my one-way street, and he wasn't in reverse. His car moved with confidence, with joy, as if this was the way it should be at the end of the block. He then took a right, and that was the wrong way too. He did this on purpose. So I don't know why I was shocked when Will Smith got up from his seat that night and slapped Chris Rock. And surely the crack that Chris Rock had just made wasn't the sort of joke that one risks his reputation or his career for. But these are now the times of our lives. Anybody could snap, even a man who was once one of the earth's most beloved humans, even a man who before he left his seat and swung was poised to enjoy one of the happiest and highest moments of his 53 years. And to top it all off, the show wanted to settle back into its routine after Smith seemed to calm himself. That was shocking too, because the show just went on. Now, I tend to take it even farther. I agree. What we have been experiencing as a society and a global humanity is a sort of sara'at of the soul. We have all been undone one way or another. We have all paid some sort of price, if not individually, then collectively. Look at the rising costs of everything, everywhere. It feels surreal. It's like the Twilight Zone. Every time I go to Costco and I look at the lines and I look at the prices, and Costco's less than other places. And then I go into Los Angeles and I see the prices going upwards of $7 a gallon. I went into a regular coffee store that's a national chain the other day, and I asked for half and half in my coffee, and they asked me how much. I said, half and half, a little bit, put it in my coffee. And they said, like a smidge, or do you really want some half and half? I said, well, I'm getting a regular in a tall cup, a larger one for ice and half. And they're like, we're going to have to charge you 85 cents more. And they said, you need to know from now on, unless you just want a drop of half and half, it's going to be 85 cents more. And we're required to tell all of our customers that starting April 1st, prices will go up 50 cents to $1 a cup. This is insane. Everything is out of control. What the world saw with Will Smith was a piece of humanity coming undone at the seams, robbing what should have been a glorious moment for him, and not just him, the movie industry as a whole, of the glory in return, in coming back. Just like Sarat, when you've been sent out of the community, coming back. Instead, shining a glaring spotlight on just how far we have yet to come. Sadly, Will Smith has to be the vehicle for the message. I'm not condoning what he did, but just like God hardening Pharaoh's heart in the story that we will recount 2 weeks from tonight, there are things we can control and there are things we cannot. Ultimately, it is how we respond that matters and sets the bar for all to see. God wanted us to see the wonders, to be present as much in the Passover story as God was absent in the Purim story, showing that we can take charge of our own choices and our destiny and prevail in the fight of good over evil. And if we can't, God will show us, shining a light so bright that we cannot choose to not see. Ultimately, our own redemption rests on our willingness to go forward with faith, to do the right thing. It shouldn't be so difficult, and behave in ways most high when we feel most low, desperate, and afraid. God is with us, and the ultimate outcome rests on us, our choices, our behavior, and our faith. Sometimes the end result is not what we see or even want, but it can turn out so much better when looking back in hindsight. Has anyone ever experienced that? The lesson here in our Parsha and the ultimate connection is that we are supposed to act and treat each other with dignity, honor, and respect. And when we don't, affliction of many forms happens to our possessions, to the things we covet, and yes, eventually to us. At the beginning of this new month, let us not be fools and foolish. It is, by the way, April 1st. And with the onset of this new year, where we will soon sit at our Seder tables, creating order with our Haggadah, reading the story of our liberation from slavery, let us look at all that enslaves us, all that causes dis-ease and affliction, so we don't become diseased and pass the point of no return. We are not much different than our ancestors of old. We need to mind ourselves lest afflictions get the best of us and run riot over all we hold dear. Peace comes at a price. Peace of mind, peace in our homes, peace in our relationships, peace in our souls. Our job is to do right and live right so that the cost does not outweigh the reward. As we forge ahead through this Shabbat and beyond, let us figure out what we can do to be better and merit the good fortune that God ordains for us at this, the head of our new year. Let the bounty in our walls of our own being be easily accessible and not necessitate affliction to uncover our hidden assets. Let what we have be enough to share and the burden not too great to bear. Let kindness of thought, word, and action be our guide so that peace, redemption, and renewal can be had for everyone and the ultimate promise that God had planned. Let us think about the times we behaved in ways or made decisions that reflected less than our best, and then what the outcome was. Let us think about ways we might have harmed another in word, thought, or deed. Let us think about ways in which our heart, our soul, or body might have become afflicted and how we handled it. Was it a natural, uncontrollable course of nature? Or was it brought on by anger, stress, selfishness, or a source that begets Sara'at? We all need to move past these years of darkness and go forward into the light. We need to release the chains that bind us, but we cannot do it if we are still, in so many ways, hanging on to them. Let us move forward toward being truly free, as God intended, free from blemish, free from pain, free from all that enslaves us. Let us merit the vindication of the Kohen's pronouncement that the Sara'at has passed, so that we can fully return to dwell in community once again. Let this be so for our humble community of Temple Emet and the world as a whole. Kain Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Shabbat Shalom. And so now we're going to pray for those who are ill and in need of a spiritual uplifting. Arlene Vita is home, struggling, learning how to deal with dialysis. Sandy Teicher was in the hospital. My ex-husband, Blake Thomas, is now, it's April, been in the hospital for a year. There's so many of us that are struggling with so many different things, all of us, one thing or another we've got. Stacy's mom, Judy, just had her wrist operated on. And Andrea, I'm not quite sure what she had. She had a pain block or something like that. I'm not sure about that. But she's out and about today, so whatever she had, we all need to get some. But anyway, so we wish a complete refuah shlema, a complete healing of body and soul and spirit to those that need it. And so let us turn to page 371 in your Siddurim. And if you would like to say the names of your loved ones inside your own hearts and minds and soul, bring them into your mind's eye for just a moment as Dan is playing and our musicians. And then we'll sing the whole prayer on page 371. Take a deep breath in and deep breath out, and let us send that healing energy not only to those we love, but those so desperately around the world that need it, and anyone that finds themselves afflicted in any way. Mi shevera avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shevera body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, May everyone in our community and around the world have a refuah shlema, a complete and full healing. And now if you'll turn to page 586 on the bottom and rise, we have our Aleinu prayer as we move into the final prayers of the service. Please rise if you're able. Bottom of the page, 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gidula l'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim V'Yosed Aretz, U'Moshev Yekarov HaShamayim Mima'al, V'Shechinatu Zo, V'Govhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Kakatu, Betorato, Be'adata Hayom, V'Hashebota, El Bavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Ha'elohim, B'Shamayim Mima'al, Ve'al Haaretz, Mitachah Einod, V'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, bayom ha'hu, v'yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. And together let's read on the top of page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech. May we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. Please be seated as the ark is closed. As I stand in front of our Torah scrolls, 3, creating order out of the chaos of the world, and I'm looking at the Hebrew, and I can hear many of you at different speeds. If it feels like it's going too slow, it's important, if you know the Hebrew letters, or even if you don't, just focus. That in and of itself, I've said many times, is a meditation. And the slower we go, the more you can actually like beam me up, Scotty type of thing, and get into that groove. There's 2 ways to do it. You can go fast and you can dive in and you can get that rhythm and that pace, or we can go slow and allow the whole community to participate. But just allow yourself the freedom to be able to actually look at the words or look at the Hebrew, look at the letters, and if you know it, force yourself to slow down. It's not a bad thing when we race so fast to make ourselves slow down a little bit and connect with God. Also, I was standing in front of the Torah as we were doing this prayer, and I was thinking that the last thing that my daughter said to me after I read her the sermon, she said, it's really amazing how, year after year after year, you always find something that the Torah relates to now. It does. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, this is a living document. This is us. It's our tree of life. We are it. It is us. And you know, it is there to guide us. If we just open ourselves up like a flower and embrace the light, it is there for us. And so as we speak of the light, we have the Hachodesh on page 598, as we celebrate our loved ones who have moved into the great expanse, the light of the heavenly realm. And we ask that God be with them at this time, and for those who are fresh with grief. So both here and at home, if you've lost anyone in the last 7 days, the last week, please rise and say your loved one's name. If you've lost anyone in the last 30 days, the last week or the last 30 days? Week? Ooh, please, Deborah. Sorry, dear. Stay standing. And the last 30 days. The last 11 months. Robin and Steve? Sue? Go ahead, Jonathan and Deidre. Sunny? And if you are observing the yard site, the anniversary of a loved one's death, and raise your hand in case you're already standing. Diana? May their memory be for a blessing. And then Sunny?
My sister, Patricia Weissman.
And together we rise as a community and we ask that their memory be for a blessing and their souls on high. As together we read the Hachodesh on page 598. Yikadal, v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma dibra chiruteh, ve'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeh d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman karev yimru. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei amaya, yit barach v'yish tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit naseh, v'yit hadar v'yit taleh v'yit halal shemei d'kudashah b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tishvechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alama v'imrum.
Amen.
Yehe sholama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imrum.
Amen.
Oseh shalom v'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. The God who is the creator of life and death, author of that which is seen, unseen, and that which he or she wants us to see. Grant eternal rest and perfect peace to those in the heavenly realm, and peace to those that are suffering at this time, and peace to all the world, as together we say, Amen. And so I see the president is ready to come forward. She has her announcements in her hand. Please come forward, be seated, and then after Diana does the announcements, we're going to celebrate our birthdays. Duke is going to come forward with his family, and then anybody else who has a birthday in April. So thank you, Diana. And so make sure, I don't see the cameras moving. Maybe you want to come up here because I know you want to be seen. I don't see them moving. It's like Hollywood up here. I'm ready for my close-up. I want you to have your close-up.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Don't slap me.
I'll try not to. I'll try not to do anything, and I won't think about it either. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Welcome to all of you here in our building and those who are at home watching on our live stream, YouTube. And thanks again, Mark Tannen, for making it work. Thank you, Rabbi Cantor, for a beautiful sermon. It really made me think. The flowers today are sponsored by Sue Jones in honor of Duke's birthday. Now, I don't know how old you are, Duke, but I figure you're probably younger than I am because I think almost everybody is. However, happy birthday, Duke. And thank you to our music director and pianist, Dan Spector, spectacular. Thank you to our wonderful musicians, Marianne, who's back from Israel on violin, thank you so much. Amy on baritone, you providing that little extra oomph, oomph, oomph. And to our fantastic percussionist, Stacy. Did you hear her harmonizing? See, this is a multi-talented person. It was fabulous. Thank you so much, Stacy. And a get well shout out to Hilda, our fantastic harpist. And Hilda, I hope to see you making magical music on your harp very soon. Saturday, April 9th, which is next Saturday, is our next morning Shabbat service. And I think Rebecca Weintraub is reading Torah. And it'll be followed by lunch. Truxtons?
Oh, no. She's doing it in May.
Oh, May.
So both Rebecca and Hilda are also recovering from surgery.
Oh, dear.
So I will read it from the Tikkun sheet. And Wendy, would you like to point to the scroll? You love to do that. And then, so Rebecca will be in May and Crystal will be in June.
Aha. So, Wendy, you're going to fill in, but of course, you're so skilled. Of course, you can. Thank you so much. And lunch is what? Truxtons afterwards?
No, we're going to the New York Deli because you told me we can alternate. Unless you want to change your mind.
I'm not changing my mind.
Okay.
New York Deli it is for those of you who want to go to lunch afterwards. Our next lunch bunch is very special because it is on Friday, April 15 at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. at the Pan.
You know, we used to do it like at 10.
11 a.m.
11 a.m. it is. She
Yes.
is the president after all.
That's right, because at 10 a.m. I'm not ready. But however, we will have lunch and we will burn the chametz afterwards. So watch the reminder and RSVP to me. And then, of course, that night is our first Seder. So, you know, we have about 63 people signed up for our very first in-person kosher Seder. And it starts at 6 o'clock on Friday, April 15th, but get here a little early because you have to park and you have to check in and get your cards. Anyway, and vaccination is necessary, so if we haven't already checked your vaccination, please bring it. And you can still sign up for it up till April 6th, right, Judy? Mm-hmm. $72 a person for members, and entree choices are brisket, Cornish hen, salmon, or stuffed portobello mushroom. And all the Seder trimmings and wine and juice, and a terrific Pesach Seder cake, which is going to be, what? No, well, Sue and I and our husbands are celebrating our anniversary, so that's our anniversary cake. So you got to come and taste that because it's really, really good. Okay. If you have a need of a Haggadah, please let me know. We have them. You can get them. They are $10, and we'll have them for you to check in at the table. Pat Alexander has told me that we are now bringing back a temple group that we used to have before, the Bikor Kolim Committee. Now, this group of folks help where help is needed. They arrange for meals to be delivered to the sick and recovering. They drive people who need it to appointments. They call, they visit, they generally check on people to see that they're okay, and they arrange to provide assistance if it's needed. We need you. We need volunteers. It really does mean you. The more people we have, the easier it is for all of us. I personally know how important this is because when I got out of the hospital, I could not drive. And people stepped up to drive me to doctor appointments, to physical therapy, and shopping, and it was a lifesaver. So I am forever grateful. And no one knows when they're going to need help, but isn't it wonderful that the Temple Emet community is there to help when it's needed? Please think about volunteering. The more we have, the less you'll have to do, and it's really a good thing to do. So we also need someone to chair this committee to keep track of who needs what. It could be you. You've all heard me say that my dean at the university always said, you're going to get your reward in heaven. And I'd say, right. However, you'll know that your reward will be that you were able to help someone who needs help. And the more we have, the easier it's going to be. So step up and tell Pat Alexander, she is, that you want to be part of this major mitzvah. And you never know when you're going to be the one who needs it, so think about it. Now, mark your calendars. Annual congregation meeting will be Thursday, May 19 at 7 p.m. here in the building. And you'll receive the letter, the agenda, minutes of the last year's meeting, and the slate of the Board of Officers for approval no later than April 19th in your mailbox. But it's also going to be, thank you to Judy, going to be posted online. And if you can't make it, you'll be able to see it on live stream, and we hope you'll be here if you possibly can. And one more thing, please remember to pay your 2021-22 legacy pledges, because we really need it and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. So Judy will be sending out the chametz forms that will be updated so you can sell your chametz. Next Saturday, since we really went through Tazria and Metzorah, this evening we'll go over what we need to do to prepare our homes for Pesach once again. Or you can just sell your chametz for $18 and you don't have to worry about it as much. I will have the candles, the feathers, and the spoons if you want to break your little crumbs of bread around your home and scoop it up. And I told you before, my dogs love it. It's their favorite time of the year. So we'll discuss more of that next Saturday because we do love to eat around here. So yes, so tonight we're going to Roma, a cucina. If you didn't RSVP, that's okay. I stopped by there today earlier to let them know we might have a few extra. And next Saturday, we'll go to the New York Deli. 2 weeks from tonight, we have our Pesach Seder. And then the first Friday in May is right after Cinco de Mayo. So I want you to start thinking about it, that we should be going to Alfredo's for Mexican food. So we just go through the weeks by what kind of food we're eating. So, and then I was thinking about it that maybe, in June we just do Chinese. So we just go through the rotation. So anyway, that being said, next Thursday, please be sure, 7 o'clock, our Kabbalah music and prayer class. It's very exciting. I mean, we seem to have more people online than come in the building, but it's really wonderful because all of our musicians are playing and we learn some of this new music and what the prayers mean in a more Kabbalistic sense so that you get a little more from it. Those of you that have been coming, have you gotten a little more from it? So what are you going to say? So anyway, Shabbat Shalom is wonderful. So now we're going to bring forward our birthday people. So Duke is going to come forward with Tim and with Sue, and we're going to wish him a happy birthday. And does anybody else here have a birthday in April? Since this is April 1st, please come forward. Well, if you're out there in the world of cyberspace and live stream and it's your birthday in April, Yom Huledet Sameach. And you see, Duke, we can control some things, and some things we can't. You did not want that light shining down on you and spotlighting you, and yet there are no other Aprils here, so you're a really special guy. So you have a wonderful family that surrounds you and keeps you going, and we're so grateful for that. And I particularly want you to be blessed for sharing them with us. Tim helps with security, and Sue keeps everything going around here.
This is the 10th year anniversary of when I wound up in this chair.
It's an amazing thing. Do you remember when you were in the bathtub and I tried to help get you out in Israel? That was quite the year. One person fell down and broke their wrist in an archaeological dig. You ended up, we went on that wild ride in the van with the guy who was stoned out of his mind and took us to the wrong part of Jerusalem. That's an amazing thing we lived through. It's amazing any of us are still here. And then, we had someone who had heart issues, so it's a miracle that I want to go back to Israel with all that. But no, we're so grateful to God that you're here and strong like ox. And that he's 80. Ooh, okay, well, 8 is the number of Mashiach, of the Messiah, of the coming of the perfect age. So we're glad you're 80. Bring it on, that energy. So we all want to bless Duke for his birthday, Tim and Sue for helping to keep him going. And my dog slept over at Grandma and Grandpa's house. My dog Briscoe loves to jump on Duke's bed and be with him and walk out in the world with Tim. And Sweet Pea loves getting treats and trying to manipulate Grandma, who is much more firm than I am. So anyway, happy birthday, Yom Huledet Sameach. And together let us sing, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Duke. We love you. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. And I want to share, I hope it's okay, a story that I heard from Sue today. So I said, you know, when is Duke's actual day? And she said April 11th, right? And so, you know, an 11 is a good number. My daughter was born on the 11th. She loves the number 11. But 1 and 1 is 2, and that's partnership. And you got your beloved Bashert, your soulmate, and I heard the story. And I said, wait a minute. His birthday is April 11th, but we're celebrating your anniversaries on the 15th with you and Diana. And she's like, yeah, I had to wait for him to be 21 before we can get married. And then we got married right after that. That's such a cute story. So she told me not to embarrass you, but I'm embarrassing her. Look, she's but isn't that a cute story? So anyway, may you have many more happy years of wedded bliss, which we'll celebrate on Passover, and may you have many more years of good health. And let us all say, Kei mihi ratzon, may that be God's will. Yom Huledet Sameach, happy birthday. So let's all bless one another with the Birkat Kohanim. You can do you want to stay up here while we do that? Okay. I'm going to put my hand on the birthday boy. I'm going to put my hand on everybody. Okay, you ready? So may God bless you and keep you. May God's countenance shine upon you. May God be with you always and grant you peace. Yevarecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha. Ve'yasem lecha shalom. Kei mihi ratzon, may be God's will. And 10 years reduces down to 1. And that is the oneness of God. And even though I know it has not been easy being in the chair, and me when I had my knees replaced, I know what it feels like. But God was with you. Because if you guys don't know this, but I was in my limited Hebrew hearing the ambulance guys talking about taking him not to Jerusalem. I think they were going to take you to Tiberias. And I was like, no, we're going to go to Hadassah Hospital. We're going to go to Jerusalem. And, you know, Terry was on one floor of the hospital. You were on another floor. I was going back and forth between the two of you. And then they sent you to the other Hadassah Hospital. And it was minutes, really. Like the doctor said, had you not gotten there, you might have died.
2 hours at max.
You see that? Did you hear him here? You can talk into my microphone. 2 hours max. So God was with you, and the angels were with you, and they will continue to be with you. So happy birthday. May it be a birthday for us all as we go forward into a new year. So thank you. We'll see you guys. Love you. So now we're going to have our closing song. Dan, what will it be? Oh, say shalom, a prayer of peace for all the world. And if you're going to Roma, get on over there. I told them to feed you as you come in. Oh, say shalom, Roma. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Fabulous musicians and the harmonies and everything. Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you next Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Please be here or on live stream. And Thursday at 7 for our class.